Hands over your head.
We're good to go.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We're back. We're going to continue our briefing, and we are so lucky to have our coroner with us. Jaime, take her
Good
away.
morning. So I just wanted to come in and do a briefing about kind of our activity here at the coroner's office. We have been seeing a lot of more overdose deaths, and there's a little bit of a difference in the deaths that we're seeing. They're kind of mixed toxology in the deaths. So we've got like fentanyl, methamphetamines, and now we're seeing MDMA, which is like a molly kind of mixed in there. Now it's very kind of slight bit, but we're seeing it, and that's kind of concerning. Also, we are having clusters. So we're getting like an overdose, and then maybe a couple hours later we're getting another overdose death. We've been having like sometimes 3 or 4 in a day or 2 to 3 day periods. So that's kind of concerning too. It makes me think that maybe we're getting a bad batch that's coming in. And with the fentanyl being in everything, we're seeing deaths that are happening to people that are in their 50s and above. So usually you get like, hear people that have been long time methamphetamine users, and they think that they're just getting meth, but there's fentanyl in that as well. And we're seeing all the way up to like 80-year-olds that are overdosing on fentanyl. So we're just seeing I feel like we're seeing an increase, and so I thought we kind of needed to talk about it and just make people aware that we're kind of seeing a little bit of an increase in cluster deaths.
Is there something that you can come and read to us during a regular meeting for the public?
Yeah, I think that's what Travis was talking about, is that I can come do some briefings maybe every couple of months, just kind of let you guys know where we're at and what we're seeing.
Well, that's good for briefings here, but I mean, I think the public needs to know what you just said,
Yeah.
so that they can be on the lookout, and if you do it in a regular meeting, it may show up in the paper.
I think he's asking for the Tuesday morning meeting.
Yes.
Oh, Tuesday morning, yeah. Yeah, I
Just
can, yep.
A prepared statement to let the public know that even you at this thing,
Yeah.
you're at risk right now. If you're a methamphetamine user, you are also at risk for fentanyl, because that's what's in there. Just let them know.
Yeah, do you want me to do that tomorrow or
next
Maybe
Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
next Tuesday?
Yeah,
Right.
they don't have any tomorrow.
She may not be in town.
I'm
And
gonna be in
no,
Hawaii, but
then-
when I get back.
then-
yeah.
Or the next one.
Yeah, prepare for the next one. We'll just
Okay.
change after.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I think it kind of needs to get out. I think people need to know what resources are out there, and just that, I mean, we're seeing the fentanyl that we're seeing a lot of times when I do a death investigation, I'm doing tests on scenes. So the first thing that I do is kind of a urine test, and we're not seeing the fentanyl in the urine, so we'll see paraphernalia or something like that, and then we're testing and it comes back negative. Well, this fentanyl that's going around is so potent that your urine is a waste product, so it doesn't have time to hit your urine.
Wow.
So when we take them back and we run blood through our Randox machine, that's when they're coming back with fentanyl. So it's going to them so quick that it's not even making it to their waste product. So we're picking it up in the blood, and that's not good either.
No. I think we should really focus on trying to get this word out
Yeah.
to let people know that.
And the
it's out there
Randox
and how
machine
bad it
that
is.
we have, I've been using it like crazy, so that's really been a good thing because we're getting real time
Good.
information, so we don't have to wait for WSP to come back. We
I'm
can-
so glad that we have it.
Yeah, and we've been using it weekly, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad that you're using it, but.
Yeah, but it gives us some information and data like this that I can bring to you guys.
WSPA is so far back.
It's about 13 weeks before we get results back from WSP. Yeah, because it's a big problem in Washington.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
Lots of questions,
How
lots
you
of
gonna,
concerns.
how you gonna stop it?
I wish I could. Education, I hope.
Do you have any recommendations for us as something that may help?
I think you're right about getting the word out. I think that prevention is key. I think talking to, like, I go into the schools and talk to the youth quite a bit. You know, working with the health department to get those resources out there, I think is
I
probably.
think the one missing is that older group. I don't think they're connected to anything.
I know, and
you
that's kind of why I wanted to talk about that, because we don't think about them. We think about the youth and
Yeah.
we think about younger people, but these older people are being affected too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm meeting with Jeff Leakey this week. Has he ever interviewed you or anything?
He is not.
He's
I mean,
not?
I know Jeff, but yeah, he has not interviewed me for.
Okay, I'll talk to him and, cause I think that would be, it'd be good to have an interview and
Yeah, sounds good.
whatever we can use to get the word out.
Yeah.
Let's use it.
You could either go to the health department, or maybe we can find a way to get Diedrich to cut it down for us so we can share it on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it out there to all of our people, so I guess it needs to get out there. They still use the internet stuff.
We'd have Diedrich interview too.
Yeah, and we have a coroner Facebook too, so maybe I can do a short story or something.
that
Yeah,
would be
keep it
great.
short and simple though,
Yeah.
and let us
Yeah.
know, cause if, there's so much information out there, if you don't tell us, I'm not gonna go find it.
Yeah,
But if you tell me, then I'll find it and we'll share it out.
Mhm.
great. Sounds
Good.
good.
And then we can put it on our county page too.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're awesome. We're blessed
But
to have you.
I really can't believe that you're prioritizing Hawaii over getting to come to
Well,
a meeting
you
on
know,
Tuesday.
you
I mean,
know.
I'm not sure what to make of that.
I adore you, Travis, but I might like Hawaii a little bit.
Okay. I'll,
That's good.
Yeah, where's the commitment?
Always.
super committed. She needs her Hawaii trip.
Yes, she does.
Can't blame her.
All right, Travis, you're up.
Which means that Mackenzie.
I only have one item today. It is a nomination for Jacqueline Early to the Pacific Mountain Workforce Development Board of Directors for another 3-year term. This nomination came from the Economic Development Council and is backed from PACMOD.
And me.
And you?
Oh my gosh, she is awesome, and I would be so sad if she was not on the PAC board.
I'm supportive.
That's mine.
So this will be on our agenda for the next meeting. Perfect.
All right.
And we
so-
did see, you did mention that we also got a
Mhm.
recommendation from PAC now. Yes. Okay.
All right.
Sorry to be so tough on you.
I know this week was nice and easy. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, Travis? Anything going on that we need to be aware of?
I have two things from my position that I would like to talk about. One, just to follow up on the Mason Lake study that Barry Dunn is doing. We had a good meeting with them last week, just some of their initial conversations about what they've been studying and looking into. They're not ready to come brief yet, but they said that they will have a pretty comprehensive rough draft in August. It won't be the final draft, that'll be at the end of the year, but they said it will have some solid recommendations and probably be actionable information from the board at that point. And so they're sending me snippets of information here and there that I've been reviewing and going back and forth. So look forward to that coming in the future. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the email that I included all of you on last week to talk about the auditor's review of contracts. And so I don't have any personal sway one way or the other about what the legislative bodies decide that they want to do about those, whether they want to do them or not do them or how they want to do them. I do have some concern that if we move forward on these, the impact of the workload on staff and how that looks. I have one staff member who said he spent 30 hours on it already, and that's just one. I've had a couple other directors very curious about, why we're duplicating work that's already done by either the state auditor or oversight bodies and those kind of things. And so I guess I wasn't here having this discussion when the other administrator was here, and so I don't really know what the parameters were that were put around that. I have talked to the auditor and discussed it with him, and so I still just have some concerns about the level of workload, and if we decide to move forward, how we can possibly change the timeline and change the structure of it a little bit to make it a little bit more tenable for our staff. But again, mine is not to make the determination of whether or not we do or not, just to throw out there my concerns about that, and possibly, if you make a determination, to talk about how it might be more tenable.
All right. When we shouldn't say we agreed, because this is under the purview of the auditor, but there's a separate thing that was created that we agreed to have a commissioner sit in and do some of the work with it, stuff like that. And that commissioner is in full charge of how much time or effort that he wants to put in. That's, the idea of 30 hours for an employee has me worried, but at the same time, if a commissioner tells me that that's what's needed to do it, then I'm gonna support that for what the commissioner wants to do, his committee,
To be
basically.
completely honest, I've had like 0 time to put in on it. So, I don't really know. It's a different scope than what I had in mind when we talked about it before, so, it's grown beyond what I thought we were talking about doing, so I need to review that with Steve and see where we're.
You wanna do that and
where
come
we're
back
going.
to us and give us recommendations on how you wanna handle it?
Yeah, I will.
Are we okay though with allowing Travis to have a conversation to keep those numbers down, especially, they're allowed to do so much within their department and stuff like that, as they're doing it, if they're reaching out and it's that many hours, perhaps go through the commissioner first, and I'll back what the commissioner comes up with for how they
Yeah.
wanna allocate that time, but if, I'm trying to be very respectful in how I say this, but our staff's allocation of time is not up for grabs for anybody or everybody that wants it. It's got to have a purpose and a reason, and okay by somebody.
It has to be approved by the commissioners, by the three of
Yeah,
us.
by the commissioners, or we allocate it to him or him.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to bring it back around, because I wasn't part of that other conversation when I just heard about the amount of staff hours and just the breadth and scope of what it entailed. It just, it seemed to me like talking about a more reasonable timeline and a more reasonable amount of work to not impact staff to the extent that it appears that it will. And that's my concern, not really the content of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kept out of the conversation until it was like a week before it was brought before the commission, so. I don't know much about it either, other than probably what you know.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm still in the same place. I got a commissioner we selected to go on there. I'll take the recommendation of the person doing the work.
I don't know that he was selected or selected
Well,
by somebody.
I was thinking of, my concern was that every week, basically, we sign warrants and things like that. And as I've said to others, in my business, I've signed every purchase order and every check for 35 years. I know exactly what's going on in the budget. I had some concern that I'm signing these, multi-million-dollar warrants, and all I see is a list of numbers. And I wanted to be able to drill down and find out what the heck am I signing. And I've since gotten that ability through access to Munis and some education on how to, take one and kind of dissect it a little bit. And that's been very useful, but it is time consuming. The contracts kind of got piled on top of that as well. And I was like, oh, okay, this is exceeding the scope of what I thought I was signing up for, so. And I just haven't had the time to look into that, so.
I know when it was being brought up, the first thing I thought is a brand new commissioner, the opportunity to work in the depth of everything is never a bad thing. So, like I said, I'll still back wherever you're at on it, and it's your weight you're carrying. But it's not a bad thing to have that and to learn things. It's.
Absolutely. But there are limits.
So you'll just bring it back to us and,
Yeah, I'll meet with Steve, with our auditor, and discuss that with him.
And perhaps a little bit about how to curtail the,
Yeah.
thank you.
Great. And is it okay with the commission that I work with Commissioner Tarswell to
Yes.
talk about any ideas that I might have and see how we can work with that? Because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to interject what, you should or shouldn't do. That's entirely up to you folks. I just want to make sure that it's a tenable working arrangement on both sides, and our staff can get the job done along with everything else that they need to do.
Well, this is a good opportunity for you to learn as well in some of these things, so I definitely would think you're gonna be involved all the way through. And when it comes to our staff, it's a funnel, but backwards. So however ever that's going.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
We'll get together.
That was
Anything
it.
else?
That's all I have, except
That was
I
it?
think it's, we're moving on to.
Oh,
oh. Let's talk tote.
morning.
Good morning.
Happy short week.
Yeah.
Oh, happy 4th of July.
Yes. Okay. So temporary outdoor public events, and this is, I believe, the 4th briefing we've had on this issue. So I had a couple of things that I wanted to raise to the commissioners, and before asking that it get put on an action agenda to set a public hearing. And then if you guys have any remaining questions, to go ahead and ask those. So I appreciate all the time that Ian has spent on this, and a variety of other folks, including Loretta, Travis, and other departments, our fire marshal. And then the amount of time that you guys spent on really looking into this and what does it mean, etc. And so Ian and I spent a fair amount of time going through and really taking the regulations and determining what is this that we're actually trying to do, get rid of things that are irrelevant, redundant, whatever. And I see that there's a few things in here for the commissions to consider, especially after we were expecting at a public hearing that we would have some event type hosts that I've talked to. I know Ian's talked to more than I have, but that will be interested in these regulations. And one of the things to consider is how many cumulative, not consecutive. How many cumulative days per year do you want to allow these types of events? How long do you want a permit to last? I think it's not actually in here right now. So I would think 1 year, or is it good for every 2 years to get renewed? And my assumption, and I did make the change by adding the word type after each event, so each event type. So if a person is holding a music festival, it's the exact same thing. Maybe the number of people vary depending on the weekend, but it's basically the same type of event. Then that gets a single permit rather than every time they have it to get a new permit, because we think that we can let them know what the parameters are, just pay the fee one time, not have to do that multiple times. So those are the kinds of things that I think Ian and I and the public would be looking for the input from the commission. So I think 1 or 2 years for a permit type to be valid is reasonable. Right now, the code has 14 cumulative days. I don't have a recommendation one way or the other. I don't know if Ian does.
Do you know, is there an average?
There's no average. It's all over the place. There are some people that want to have lots and lots of events. There are some that want to just do 1 or 2 events a year. I think that somewhere there's a balance between the needs that they have to utilize their property in a commercial fashion versus if every good weekend in the summer is a rock concert next to you. There's some balance there. So 14 days, I could see how in some situations that could get abused, and that's all the good weekends. That's all the dry weekends that we get. Versus yes, I know there's a balance. I think that's where we need public input on this.
On, they have a permit for food trailers and stuff like that that are 21-day permits. But the problem that you have is you have to have all those dates and stuff to know them. And the flexibility isn't as much there. It was, because you guys provided it, but it was supposed to be stricter than that. So I would definitely worry about that, leaving that open. In reading this, the 60 days minimum to know they're gonna have the event, that's asking a lot. Also, this is something that's a little different, but maybe you could roll into this. I'd like to see an allowed use on properties for weddings and stuff like that, perhaps with a restriction of, it has to be over 10 acres or something in the rural areas to allow for a wedding venue or what, but for them to have 14 of those a year might be.
So you're talking like the wedding venues are a separate thing from what we're talking about.
Yes, I know.
Wedding venues. So
But
you're thinking
I'd
like
like to see us find a way to consider adding that as part of this, because, if you're gonna have a party of 1,000 people, having a wedding venue that's allowed to be used in a residential area, which is where they're gonna wanna do the weddings and stuff. We don't really have that provision set up, and we kinda should, and we could, by allowing them to tag on to this.
that I must gotta defer to Kell. That sounds like a zoning issue versus a
Yeah,
temporary outdoor public event issue.
Yeah, because we handle wedding venues, not anyone wanting to hold, a family wedding or a friend's wedding at their property. It's kind of a one and done. But a commercial venture, like I have a wedding venue and you rent it out and pay me money to have all your guests there. We handle that totally separately. We do allow it on residential property, and we have a process for that. So we do allow that.
Okay.
And people come through and oftentimes there's, depending on where the location is, they run into different issues. Is it a water issue? Is it a floodway issue? Is it, a variety of
Contained on
different
your property is one of the big
Yeah.
issues I would.
But we
Yeah.
do allow for it, and we do allow for it in the residential zones. So we don't need to recreate or add it to this.
Well, because you were saying these things weren't allowed on residential before, this is a lot different than what we were brought the first day. Where I felt like we were, how do you put it, what is the problem you're trying to fix? This.
It's always the question.
Yeah, this became a lot more simplistic, which I like simple. I don't know that I think there should be a limit before it's required, of a certain amount of people, before it's even required.
Oh, the 50 part?
I was
Maybe.
gonna say that's on the last page.
Yeah, maybe 250 as a minimum before they'd be required to
Well,
get permits, or 200.
we got rid of the requirement part.
No, but I'm saying that might be something that I'm still, that they wouldn't have to have a permit if they had less than a certain amount of people, so they can continue to do these functions. I don't see the same thing as having 100 people at a place as an ongoing party.
So, if I may, Commissioner, the one thing that I kind of looked at, and I feel like it's kind of the opposite of that, in that when we had a number of people, like 250 or whatever it was restricting them from even approaching the county to have the ability to permit it and figure out how to do it the right way. Whereas when you have no minimum number, a group with any number of people can come in and say, how can we do this so that, we have no government intrusion on our property, so that we can do it the right way, and we're not having, folks come out and tell us we're doing it wrong and look at everything. And so taking the number out was really to make it so that we didn't have this artificial threshold where they couldn't come in and then find out how we would have them do it the right way.
Yeah, and how if you is a certain number that it's required. It's a different thing. I don't want somebody going out 2 years from now and saying, listen, you've got 50 people and blah, 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 because we don't have a limit and you're required to have that permit. I see a triggering mechanism that it's only required at a certain amount. I don't want them to be doing a small family party and then have nothing personal. You have an inspector, you have somebody else that's got a burn in their bonnet, and next thing you know, it is personal. And it happens.
That's a great concern, and I think we've addressed it by, the requirement is for people who are putting it out there to the public. So it's not just, hey, my cousin Jenny's getting married and we're gonna host the party and all my friends and family are there. And maybe there's some people I don't know because they're friends of Jenny's, I've never met them. But I'm not trying to get the word out to the general public about my cousin's party. And so it's the difference between people kind of having these commercial ventures open to the general public that you might be able to pay a fee in one way or another, maybe through a Bitcoin app or through an annual membership fee or whatever. And so it's like, oh, so I could become your friends and family by spending $20 a month to go to an
Then
event.
there's recommended donations and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so we're really trying to distinguish between definitely allowing people to have weddings, parties. I mean, I could have a party every single weekend, and if my neighbors get annoyed, we'll have to have a discussion about that, and the cops might, or the sheriff's department might determine it's getting out of control in one way or the other because I'm just annoying the peace. Mm-hmm. But we're not going after that. We're talking about people who are trying to have a commercial type venture on their property, and that's what this is about.
But I'm just telling you, even that is up for debate on what it is. I'm gonna give you an example. When I decided to run this last time, I put out for a party at the Salmon Center. 200 to 250 people ended up showing up for my kickoff, literally. And I didn't expect that, I didn't know it, but I did put it out on Facebook, and so that becomes advertising. So that's what I'm just saying, and I know one thing I definitely don't want is my staff, you've taken care of a lot of this on this, but I'm just saying, I don't want my staff to go out there and say, is it religious? Is it political? I don't want to even go there. I don't want us to be asking those questions. That's why I said I'd be open to the idea of a certain limit of people before it becomes also.
Well, this regulation is not the enforcement piece of anything now. We've taken all the enforcement language out of it because it has nothing to do with enforcement. This regulation is just a framework for if someone applies for a permit, these are the things they would have to do in order to get that permit.
Yeah, I like all that, actually.
That's all that is. The issue that you're talking about is one of those nuanced policy decisions when it comes to really Kell's enforcement staff. If we get a complaint, because that's how this would come for us, if we get a complaint and you have your event where you're like, hey, I'm kicking off my campaign, everybody come down, I've got donuts or whatever it is. If it's that type of situation and someone files a complaint, Kell's staff is going to investigate, and the event's probably going to be over at that point, and you're not going to have the event again. It's not like you're having another kickoff every weekend for the next few weekends. Those types of situations are always going to be nuanced policy decisions that are going to have to be addressed by management. We always have weird things that come up like that. Someone can always find a part of a regulation and say, you're violating this thing because of this thing. And those just exist in regulations because we can't be super specific with our language. We can't account for every single situation. So with this piece of draft regulation, this would allow at least a portion of those instances that right now we do get complaints on. It would allow for them to have a legal pathway so that we don't have to make those nuanced management decisions for those types of scenarios that arise. This gives a tool we can say, fill out this form, we'll go through the review process, now your operation is legal. The people will then know how many porta potties they have. They won't just be guessing, because Right now, there's no standard anywhere in the state that says how many porta potties they need to have. There's nothing anywhere, unless it's 2,000 or more people. So it gives them a framework for what they do. It tells them they need to have a public water source for their water, whether it's bottled water or a public well or something like that, so they know what kind of water to have for the people that they're serving. So
again, I like this a lot better than what you started with, but I still do worry about it, and it's not just you, it's whoever comes in before you or beside you afterwards. That's just something we have to deal with. I like the idea still of being more flexible on the 60 days minimum, and I also like the idea of having a minimum before they'd ever be required to, even though they're not required to. But they would not be required below a certain amount. They can choose to, and that'd be smart, but I'm just saying the requirement. But I'll leave it at that, and go ahead and just leave.
with this regulation, the way we're going with it right now, we can't create like a minimum for this, because that would invalidate the whole point of this, if we create that minimum. I think what you're looking for is something to assure in one of those policy situations I'm talking about, or changing the zoning regulation, where Kell staff are not going to harass someone if it's below 250. Is that kind of what?
That's part of it, just having the verbiage in there saying that a permit is not required. Doesn't mean that you don't have it, you can't have it, it's just not required. It's always best to have that.
Well, this is not required, period. This permit is not required. But if someone wants to have this legal event that's prohibited by zoning code, then they can get this to allow them to do that.
I guarantee you within a few years, Ian, somebody will be told they're required to have this.
And I can totally see that. I agree with you. They're depending on me being here or Kell being here, can greatly change how regulations are enforced depending on who is in charge and what the perspective is.
Well, I disagree with that, just in
Okay.
that if this were implemented in any form that you ultimately decide, then any staff would know that the TOP regulation, so if someone has an event and there's a complaint and that's not allowed by zoning, and our enforcement officers say, oh, they received their TOP event and they met all the requirements, so the complaint's invalid. Or, hey, FYI, there's this permit type, here's how you are able to do this again, and where I won't have to shut you down because you could meet, as long as you meet these standards. And so any staff person would be able to read the regulations and understand that. So, if we implement it and it doesn't work out, you see me before you multiple times a year crafting different development regulations because we try things and they don't work. And, that's how we do SmartGov. We try and implement different things and it doesn't work. We thought it would help us and then we change it and move on. And so, I see development regulations as a constantly moving and growing and changing thing to accommodate the people and meet state requirements, etc. And so I think that we've gotten to this after multiple conversations, not only with you all, but also with folks who would be utilizing this. And we think that we've gotten it to a point where it's worthy of having a public hearing to hear the testimony, and then for you guys to have the deliberation. You'll have 2 weeks to deliberate between the public hearing, closing the testimony, and then the request is the 2 weeks between then making the decision. So you'd have 2 weeks to say, hey, you know what, we really like the 15 consecutive cumulative days or whatever it is, and we can make those amendments so when we have the final meeting we can make it. And then if we find out after a year or two that it's not working, then we can modify it again. But it's at least a start to get people started to utilize it.
But what I did hear is if we have it, there's gonna be an expectation, if they get called out there, that they will do it. I got a complaint, this is how you make sure that you don't. That's an expectation that you will do it. And
Well, They
I'm not
currently
compla-
are,
I'm
it's
not complaining about that.
prohibited.
I'm just saying, and I disagree with that, just so you know, just because it's not in there, show me the law that says it's prohibited,
We
please.
we have zoning authority.
I know you have zoning authority, show me in it where it says that they can't have a party on that. It's not included as a use,
We,
as an allowed use.
we don't allow commercial,
So, that's why I said, so.
concerts on private property.
I know we're not, but show me where they can't have a party on there. That's not how we do our stuff, but that's something I've been arguing for a long time, that I don't like how we're set up that way. But it does, no matter what, it is something we would expect to be done, that's when we wouldn't even be passing it. But again, I'm ready to go ahead and listen to them and where they wanna go, and this is 10 times better than what we started with. I don't have the gut thing I couldn't quite explain, but you and I talked, there were some things that were bothering me by it that I just couldn't quite explain. And this has removed the majority of that, except for a few of these little changes.
Well, I'd like to compliment you, because it's completely flipped on its head from what we started with, the things that I objected to so much, so I think you guys have done a great job at addressing it in the way that I wanted to see it addressed. Allow for events to happen, but also protect public safety, public health, public peace. That's our job, is to protect the rights of the people, but it's all people, so I compliment you. I think you guys did a great job.
I do too. I would say let's go ahead, let's get it on the agenda, get the public hearing scheduled. And then, also ask that Tim take a look at it before we do it, unless he already has.
I don't think he's seen the recent version, so, and he'll
Yeah,
also have to look at the ordinance.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great, but I like it. I really appreciate the time and effort that you guys have put into this. And want to thank everybody involved too, so. They're at the two.
Okay,
Yeah.
any other questions?
No. And
Thank you.
I'm happy that
And-
we're
and-
stealing an employee.
Any news on the
I'm not
gopher?
happy about that. Yes, well, yes and no. So there are two Brians at Fish and Wildlife. I've talked to one of them and who is reaching out to the other one. And so I'm still working on getting direct assistance from the Department of Fish and Wildlife. But regardless, I believe that the proposal that I've heard, which is just by hearsay because no one's talked to me personally from the applicant side, so I don't know, it's just what I've been told. But that would be a doable regardless of the impact to the pocket gophers. So there's a way to
On that.
develop without burdensome mitigation, but I'm trying to get direct assistance without having to hire a private consultant.
So right now, we're in a situation where the gopher, that area that we have is designated, that specific area. They're looking to go out on their own, unless we can find a way to pull it off. They've asked for like 60, 90 days for a feasibility extension. And I told them I can't sign nothing without coming back to you guys first to see if that's something that you're interested in doing. Are we interested in doing that, to give them that ability to do it while she continues to look and see if she can have it done herself? Or put it, it'd be in their part to expend the money to do it, even if she can't.
I thought we talked about this already.
We did, but when it was not that long of an extension. This is a much longer extension than
60
we.
days.
Yeah, it
It
could
was
be,
30,
it
wasn't
could be 90, yeah. Cause it
If
has
they
to be.
had to hire a private
Yeah, if they have
consultant.
to hire a
okay.
private one, it gets done, it could take that long, and I don't have the ability to do that unless you guys tell me to allow for that,
And this is something that they've
requested.
in writing?
Not yet, because then it's gonna be over here shortly if we don't. So it will be in writing before I can sign it, I can't
Right.
sign anything that's not,
Right.
yeah. But he's waiting to hear from us on whether we're even interested, because we had issues with timelines. Are we willing to extend it out there? And they wanna, you already allowed me to have it taken off That's what we're allowed to have taken off, or it's not contingent. So it goes pending, but
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I am too, if we feel like they're doing this in good faith.
it's so hard to tell because of the situation, but I don't know if it would take 90 days to get something like that, so.
Could, depending on the consultants, yeah.
I've
And
never-
it's busy time of year right now, so.
In all my years, I've never
It's good
done
Well, it's not
a
a good time
gopher
to be looking for gophers, yeah.
thing, so. But if you guys are okay with it, I'll get a hold of Richard and, or can you call Richard Beckman and let him know and he'll put together the paperwork and he'll send it over to me, please.
Wait, the gophers are on
This is a
vacation?
pocket gopher mitigation.
Yeah. Well, apparently we have one of the only places in Mason County, and but at least it's limited to that small area. So we don't have to worry about it everywhere else.
Nope. Yep.
Yep, we can certainly make that call.
Oh, Mazama pocket gopher.
Cute little
We got a
fellow.
special one
was-
though, we got the Shelton.
The Shelton is on my pocket.
Yeah, our own resident, our own personal resident,
And just so I'm clear, that was for an up to 90-day extension?
yes.
They like to eat the insulation off of fiber cable.
Probably.
They do.
Like squirrels.
Every couple of years, we have to have the fiber replaced up at the port.
Oh, yeah, so you're, yeah, you are familiar
They
with
do
the
have
pocket
them there,
gophers.
And so the fiber speed dwindles and dwindles and dwindles, and then they come in and they have to replace it. I
But
keep
the
saying,
gophers get faster and faster.
it's like, why don't you put a jacket on there? Coating on it or something. It's just-
Peppermint, yeah, because the
I'm-
peppermint they do not like.
I'm thinking of starting a business to make a flavored, cable for fiber, it's, cayenne pepper flavored or something. Ghost peppers. Don't eat those anymore.
Sorry, commissioners, anything else covered?
No.
Thank you. Thank you for all that homework on there, but please continue to reach out. If we
Yeah.
get it done, get it over with sooner.
Yep,
Send it over to the.
definitely.
Thank you, guys.
I wonder if I can have them put a provision or tell 15 days after the completion of the pocket gopher.
It can,
I don't know.
if it
We'll have to see
can,
about
before,
that.
yeah.
Because, on closing, I always throw the words in or sooner, because it gives me the
Yeah.
flexibility to do things. Maybe we can do that here. but
Do it
hold
or
them-
sooner. Yeah,
Hold them to it.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Morning.
Good morning. How are
I
ya?
think it's still morning.
It is. It is.
It's 47 minutes.
Right? Holy mackerel.
It's living large.
All right.
Yes, it is.
We have before you a letter to the mayor of Bremerton. Thank you, Richard, for your
I tried. I'm not.
for your wordsmithing while I was out and about. And so we're asking Commission if you have any additions, edits, changes, and if not, we're asking that you sign this letter.
So
Put it on
your
the
epiphany
agenda.
was addressed?
Yeah, well, that was the idea of, I'd still like it change a little bit to where we're telling them, we need to know how they want us to handle that, but it's close enough. I just wanna see what they're asking of
What
us.
the response is.
I still wish we would wake up and just say, no, we're not gonna do it, but that's not gonna happen today, so this is a good job, well done on putting it together.
Good job, Richard.
Try.
Thank you. I see one little, I see we've got grant management bullets twice, so I see one little edit we'll get out of there, but other than that, wonderful,
Yay.
Oh, sweet.
perfect.
All right.
All right.
Fantastic.
That's all you got on here.
Yeah, just a couple of updates, if that's okay, commissioners. I know you're running
Right.
kind of late, but, so we received a letter from Department of Ecology. They've been out meeting with our staff on a pretty regular basis, just making sure that we're getting tuned up and making the improvements that we want to see and they want to see. And so we've scheduled a meeting for July 14th to get together and go over the comments and observations that Ecology had. So simply want to make you aware of that. And
Observations in regard to,
In terms of spray field, monitoring, a long time ago, our pond that holds the reclaimed
Yep.
water
Yep.
has basically cracks.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how deep are those fissures? Are they actually causing extra infiltration to occur or not? There was a recommendation by the consultant a long time ago to basically over X and
Yep.
take a look at what have we got? Do we need to put some tighter material there to prevent infiltration? So things of that nature.
What happened with the big hole we had and we put that one stuff down it?
The bentonite.
Yeah.
It doesn't leak.
It doesn't.
It had I wasn't here to witness it, but apparently it had an eddy effect before, and
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what's
Not occurring.
That's not
that
it,
doesn't
okay?
occur,
Yeah. And then just basic pond maintenance, so brushing, making sure that the floor of the pond is clean, sidewalls don't have alders growing out of them.
So it's a good thing we never opened it up to the sheriff's department for target practice. We talked about it at one point.
No, What?
Well, they had lost their,
I would say no.
they lost their facility at the time.
Yeah, no, thank you.
State Patrol, thank you very much.
No, thank you, yes. Yeah, so just wanted to make you aware of that, and we'll follow up. And I do want to acknowledge both Richard and Ralph and our team. Ecology was very complimentary of them and about the improvements that have been made. We have a new permit manager, and so he tends to look at things in terms of recent in his time frame. But commissioners, you've been super supportive of making sure that we've got redundancies in place and really investing in the facility far before some of the recent efforts that have been going on.
I think overall it saved us money, time, effort, and put a bigger protection over our citizens by doing what we did it.
Absolutely. So I do want to prepare a formal written response back acknowledging that there have been clear investments and intention to make sure that we are stepping up and have been increasing our reliability on that system.
Well, just taking care of most of the important deficiencies and redundancy first. There are still some that exist, but those only exist where you just shift it from another part of the plant to this one, and then you have your redundancy again.
I was gonna say, show me one thing in
Right.
government that is completely finished.
Right.
Right.
But as far as like the important ones, like the pump stations,
Yeah.
Yes.
having a third
Yes.
pump extra just right there replaced the ones we had there. There was only one pump in both of those pump stations
Yep.
before that happened. So there's some vast improvements that have been made.
Well, and you save money by buying some of those other grinders and stuff in larger quantities, where you saved a lot of money. And it's there.
Replaced all the membranes with the new membranes that were on site. So I mean, those had 12 years worth of service. They're supposed to have 6 before they get changed out. So we've been taking care of the highest priority items and working our way down. So we're almost there.
That's awesome.
It is. Yeah. And then the other item, commissioners, we talked about bringing back utility rates, I believe, today. And we talked about having a little bit extra time and then laying out a 5-year plan for Commissioner Trask asked, what can we set rates for 5 years? What's 26, 7, 8, so it's not a repeat performance, and we do have a plan for our rate schedule. So no briefing next week. Our plan is then to bring that back on the 14th, and hopefully we've got it close enough to make some budget recommendations and bake that into our budgets.
I want to thank you guys. You spent hours with me, and so I want to thank you guys and Stephanie for helping, and Travis was in there too, helping me understand it more and figure it out. There's lots of different numbers, lots of different tabs, and so I want to thank you guys.
Yeah.
for the help that you're giving me. My SMEs, couldn't do anything without you. I couldn't do this without you.
We're happy to. Just a quickie follow-up on that. Jennifer was asking today about the transfer of the .09 monies for this year and future years. And so you may recall that's $450,000 that goes to the Belfair Fund. And so I did ask if we could delay that until we get direction from commissioners, because Stephanie did, as you recall, take a look at what would the rates need to be if we did away with the .09 funding. So we would be looking to you commissioners to also, that's part of the package, right? If you decide, no, Belfair Sewer, no more .09, then we need to make sure that our rates are set appropriately to cover that. All right, okay. I think that's it.
One thing.
Oh.
One thing, because it kind of came in last minute last week, our water improvement project grant money for
yes.
Russellwood. I put in for a scope change and an extension, and I got a call from our agent there at Commerce, and she says, I need this signed tomorrow. This got approved to extend it. So we got it extended 2 years. Sharon was able to take care of that for us. And so that grant for Russellwood has been extended 2 years. The scope change is still, it goes back every Thursday. And so we're waiting on that, but the money we have, we didn't lose it. And it's quite significant. So.
And
That's awesome.
what we want to do for the scope change, or one of the items that we're proposing for the scope change, is to convert out our existing meters to the it's already automated, but the instant.
Yeah.
So
that
that
would be-
any customer can view current today. So that's what's cooking on that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that'll be so beneficial to the customers.
Yes.
Yeah.
If she signed on behalf of the commission on this grant, we need to get something to protect ourselves on the agenda as soon as possible. We should actually have an emergency meeting, because that should never happen. But we need to get it on our agenda, so when the state auditor gets involved, we'll already have had it fixed.
The initial authorization for accepting the grant authorized the chair to sign for any and all amendments and all of that business. Is that
From
your
years
concern?
ago, or for,
I think when you
Yeah,
applied for the
when
grant.
the initial grant award and execution, yes.
and how long ago was that?
It was 2024, maybe?
I was gonna say a
Yeah.
year or two,
2020.
maybe at the most.
Yeah.
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 I don't want a finding, I'd rather get us just fix it, and I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
I just don't want us to, them to
Yeah.
come back and say that we didn't do it, especially if it's a year and a half issue.
Yeah, we can pull the action item.
Because, you know,
But
it's-
it states, usually we include that in all of our grant documentation, so if the auditor does ask who has authorization to sign, we've got the action agenda that describes what that authorization is.
Yeah, send it over just in case, and.
Yep.
Yep.
Because.
We'll verify.
We always need to be really careful, stuff like that, that's what will get us in really trouble.
You
I
send
could-
it to Travis, and Travis will share it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I can think of one name in particular that I'm sure will watch, and I just worry about those lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Safe Streets for All grant application was completed. Thank you to Nessa and our engineering team for that. That's a 1.9 million total project. 1.5 would be Fed funding and about 0.4 county road fund match, and that's to make safety improvements to Arcadia Road. Thank you, Commissioner, for sharing the Puget Sound National Estuary Grant Program. Not sure we'll be able to whip something out
Yeah,
that quickly, but I
that's
do
very
see if they
short.
don't allocate, that there might be funding available for future rounds. And I also saw something of interest, that they've got funding for a decant facility. That round was already open, but again, if there's some money hanging around in that grant program, that might be something of interest. We'd been talking about citing as part of the overall solid waste facility updates at Eels Hill, so we'll keep mulling that around. I appreciate the connections.
Yeah, we got notification late last week, Friday, I think, of a grant that's been open for stormwater treatment studies or whatever. It was a variety of things on there, and I thought, well, it's really short term. I mean, it's like July 8th is when it was due, so.
Yeah.
So
Well, you gotta have the right one, you may not know, but historically, that's what brought her in. She came in and worked her way up from the,
Stormwater.
yeah, as a temporary, actually, because we had one commissioner wanted her gone because he was against the, not her, he was against the grant that we got the money to bring her on.
So that's what she was talking about, was it was really short notice. It came in from the Alliance for a Healthy South Sound. And I'm like, well, Loretta, if you've got something you can
Yeah.
apply this for.
There you go.
Perfect.
Always.
Yeah. Always, yeah, there's always something. And
It
then-
was fairly open-ended too. I mean, there was a
Yes.
lot of potential things that we could be applied to, so.
Yeah, yep. And then just a quick thank you, commissioners, for attending the Skokomish Watershed Action Team meeting last week, and kudos to the health department for their participation. It was a moderate turnout from the community, but the idea is to build on that and hopefully get better engagement from the citizens.
Well,
And I
it's a little
know
hard,
that
though,
you've got,
because we didn't have it in their community where the stuff we done. We had it in
Sure.
Union because their grange is
The-
down and
yeah.
everything else, so there was a few people that showed up, but the people that showed up for the walkthrough, that was a lot. 14 to me is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You don't see that many that show up for a walkthrough through the bushes. You know, but 14 showed up.
yep,
That's
home. Yeah. And I think that's about it. I've got a lot of road updates. I'm happy to share those with you if you like. but-
just something for you to consider on the park up there at Sand Hill Park. We had another big issue, so when they're blocking the road and stuff like that. Not for, this year I think just ended, the big season just ended this last weekend. It doesn't mean we won't have problems in the near future. Can you look at what it would be, possibilities of putting conservation blocks somewhere along the roads, on the turn that goes in between field 3 and 4? On this side of the road, you're going up the hill to the right for that community, because when they start blocking it, it's getting worse and worse.
Okay. On Fern.
Yeah, for,
Okay. How about just a new parking lot?
well, that's something, no, there's an area.
How about that?
There's an area up there that I know is still available on that back side, and maybe it's something to
Yeah.
look at. But of course, we've gotta go for grants and stuff, but, I don't know that anybody's looked at it in the last few years. We'll ask.
Yeah, because it certainly sounds like there's a need.
Uh-huh. They'll still park there though unless we do something about it.
Right, because it's closer.
It's too easy, yeah.
Right.
It's too easy. It's funny, every one of them are there just to get their
Closer
kids so
walk.
they can load up, but they're all sitting down in chairs and everything while they're waiting to load.
Right, right. Well, our striper's been at work. I think they've got 120 miles of road stripes so far,
It's been
or
noticed.
line marks.
But it's
Yeah.
also been noticed that some of them where they're just learning to go on, was it Brockdale? The very first part is like this, and then they get it, so they're going further. It's like, I was laughing like hell when I saw that one.
That's when they were shifting.
Yeah, oh, they were learning how to get around, how to do this corner to start it out. You can just tell it's just like this, but they got it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and you're gonna see that because
Oh, yeah.
we plan on rotating, not just the
Yeah.
primary
Cross
folks
training.
there, so we need to have cross-training.
It
and
wasn't
other
so bad
folks
somebody's gonna go in the
doing-
bushes. It just was funny, because I knew what it meant. I knew it was somebody who was just learning how,
Yeah, absolutely.
but they got it.
And thank you. Jeremy also heard from one of the log truck drivers coming in on Matlock Brady, I believe, and just complimented how at night it was just bright, the roads riding nicely. And so in addition to that, I think Mike said we've got 183 miles that he's planning to add the reflective pavement markings, so the little, buttons,
Yep.
whether that be on the fog line or center lines, but some of the roads, particularly the local access roads, have not had any markings. They're too narrow to either have a button or a center line stripe, or let alone edge stripes. So on those, we've been putting delineators on the sides, and then the buttons as well. So these are really low cost improvements that help with safety, and just excited and proud of the team for making that happen. Yeah.
Well, I sure like the wraps you put around all the poles
Right.
for stop signs
They're
and
just
things like that.
awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
Huge
love
difference,
those.
huh?
Yeah, big
Yeah.
difference, yeah.
Yeah. And
Probably
that-
got a lot less of them getting bent over, huh?
I believe so, yes. I believe so. Need to now wrap all the guardrails. Make those glow a little bit more.
DOT.
All right.
3. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yes.
I don't know that it would make a difference.
No. A lot
Some
of
people
those
just aim for
occur
'em.
during the day, frankly, so it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just passed it, not here, coming back from Oregon, I passed a huge wreck. And what it was is the place was absolutely packed on both sides, and somebody decided to pass. It made no sense at all, and I'm pretty sure that part of the engine was on the ground on one of the vehicles. How you smash a car so much that the engine is left to the side, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's how hard passing in absolute highway conditions, or freeway conditions.
Wow.
Stupid people. Can't
Risky.
legislate stupid.
No, only the consequences of it.
Yeah.
But you sure do stupid legislation.
Yeah.
So true.
Am I right? Just saying. Touche.
Just saying. All right, anything for us, commissioners?
Looking forward to the tour on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for putting that together.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna go out and take a look at sewer.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be attending that. I will be on my way to Texas.
Nice,
Oh, wait a
hopefully.
minute, I was gonna say, that's gotta be hotter now in Texas. That's not a,
I was gonna say that might
in
not be
January,
nice,
that's pretty cool, but
Seems like
in
you got the
July,
short
that's not
straw.
fun.
You could have went to the sewer facility.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I know, you were questioning Jamie's dedication. I don't know.
I got a round trip down there about 4 years ago for $69 round trip. So I took my son. We went to a football game, Dallas Cowboys, and that was cheap. It was only like $39. You can't even do that in Seattle.
Wow.
But the hell that you went through walking into this incredible facility to get there was just amazing, because that heat is not good. Then you go in, it's like, I just want to stay right here. I don't want to go.
Yeah, well, Dallas is like, Winter Park compared to Houston. Houston certainly is hot.
I'll tell you something else I never forget though.
99%
How
humidity.
Yeah.
much they love their country.
That's the part that.
When they started doing the stuff on the big board and everything like that, every single person paid attention, was screaming yay, and I saw so many shirts with flags, and I was like, if it wasn't so damn hot, I could love it here. I mean, but I couldn't live in that. I just couldn't. There's no way. You live in your car.
Yeah.
All right, do we have anything else?
Oh, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic week.
You too. Have a happy 4th.
Happy Independence Day,
for sure.
absolutely.
Never been
Absolutely.
I know, I'm looking forward to it. I actually asked a while back. I wanted to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, now we're down to commissioner discussion. Do we have anything we wanna discuss?
I can remember.
So many things, but
I
not
was
really.
gonna bring up the stormwater stuff, but
No, you don't need to.
I don't need to.
No, but that's great that you brought that back, because you never know. It's like fishing. You can't catch it if you don't have a line in the water.
Yeah, it was a 2.5 hour meeting, and right at the end, they mentioned, oh, by the way, there's this grant that nobody's applying for. Whoa.
One of the things, they have certain grants that are out there, like safe routes to schools and stuff. Before the counties can apply for it, we have to adopt certain things in our plan that we have tried not to. But I know there's flexibilities that have been changed the last few years, so maybe we need to look at that too, again.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we have Tanessa, she's pretty good at finding what we can and can't do.
The meeting was about stormwater and the damage that it's doing to salmon, the salmon industry. It talked about something, and I can't remember, I don't have notes, but it was like 6 ppd or 6 pps, I can't remember the acronym. It's a chemical that comes off of it's a binding agent in tires that
Yep, yeah,
is really devastating the salmon
yeah. We're working
population.
on that with Commerce, with Public Works Board.
Yeah,
PFAS,
so I thought,
PFAS, yeah.
Did you guys know that the Hood Canal is on the verge of delisting for the first time
That's
ever?
cool.
We're gonna get the summer chum delisted. It's never happened before, but that's how successful the program has been.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Randy, do you remember the number of cubic yards of gravel, sand that they're taking out of the Skoke?
300
300,000
1,000 yards.
cubic yards.
yards, yep. I only remember that because when I was walking, he said it several times, so it's stuck in my head. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
But the reason why is the river has moved, so now it's not a riverbed. It is a reclamation type thing. They couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna, I don't remember how, for the width of the river, 8 feet deep, they're gonna
Yeah.
just pull out all of the,
That is a lot of dump trucks.
it's a lot of dump
That's a lot
trucks.
of gravel.
So I'm trying to get a hold of a few people to see who would be willing to take it, if anybody would. If anybody can make money off of
What's
it.
that gonna do to the roadway?
Well, and
That many dump trucks with that much weight?
nobody
Over
asked
that
that
much
question.
time.
That's the first time I heard that question, but it should have been asked.
Yeah.
But I did the same. I
Can you
started
reach
making
out to
phone calls.
Loretta and ask if she could take a look at that?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the other problems,
Really
the
curious.
biggest issues that come with it is how they look at it being government. They're like, well, maybe we can, if we give them the gravel, maybe they'll do it for $5 a yard. I looked at it the same way you did, some businessman, it's like, well, no, maybe they can pay us $1 a yard or do it for free or whatever. So I made the same phone calls. One of the first things that comes up though is trucking is the biggest expense. And they need it out in one season. So think about that for a minute.
Oh, and it can't be in the fish window
Yeah.
either, so.
So you got one season, and the farther away you have to take it to store it, the more it changes the value, unless we could store it right there on some DNR land. But then again, conservationists don't want it in the valley at all, but they may have to just to, if they wanna get it done, find a place, put it all there, and they can sell it out of that.
It's a lot of gravel.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of gravel.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, and it's-
One season, I mean, if you push up
Yeah.
against when it starts to freeze or anything else and don't have it done, now that's just that much extra wear and tear and damage.
And you're not gonna be able to sell it like that, cause it's not sorted or anything else like that, so it's all gotta, yeah.
Yeah, it's sand and gravel and rocks.
But it's what
Occasional
should've
beer
happened
bottle.
years ago.
No beer
Occasionally.
bottles.
No
No,
beer bottles in
no.
that one.
No,
No,
nobody
not
would
at
drink
all.
beer down there.
It's all cans.
I remember when I was young going down to that river and you could go swimming, there was huge deep puddles, now it's all moved away and so you're standing on a riverbed that's 4 times the size of this building and there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's completely dry now. The river's completely changed, of course.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing to look at the history.
But it's more susceptible for flooding now.
The property,
Yeah,
especially.
it's-
Yeah. Yeah. I was happy to hear that something's finally being done.
Well, 2028, if
But
that's
at
what
least-
you mean by final.
At least there's a date.
Well,
Well, they don't have the permits
they don't
yet.
have it yet.
Yeah, there's no permits yet.
That's the best best case scenario would be 2028. But we need to be preparing for the, you know, if it happened by 2028, nobody's gonna be able to respond if we don't give them some more.
Yep.
But we're gonna try to have a meeting out there. I talked to Loretta, cause there's the group that lives there. They're afraid that we're going to allow them to take out the concrete barriers, and then it doesn't get done in the middle of the year and all hell breaks
Oh,
loose.
yeah.
So we're gonna just try to go out there and talk to them, cause that group feels like they're just disconnected, which they have been. So we'll just talk, we'll find out. We'll all show up and we'll just let them know that we won't let that, because that is still our road, no matter what. We can say that you can't take it out until everything's in place.
Yep.
Yeah, I meant to ask Loretta, could we take that 300,000 cubic yards and just elevate the road?
Yeah,
Could be an option.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well, hopefully
there's a
that'll
lot
help
of
a lot
times
with
when
the
you're,
flooding, though.
when there's flooding and you're driving along, it's like, is that water above my?
No, and
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, it is.
I'll say, and it's not a joke. I actually, when I worked for PUD, I actually got my dinner off that road. I just got out of the truck, picked me up a salmon and take it home. That's because they'll be going across. It was just.
Chevy license.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hope the statute of limitations is
Yeah,
run out on that.
Way gone, 'cause that was like that.
Oh,
That was like
yeah.
1990.
Oh, you're good.
Actually, nobody cared back then. You literally, that is how it worked, you know? They still gaff, people gaff in the rivers and stuff. They weren't supposed to, nobody cared.
Any ideas?
Yeah,
All right,
I took
anything
one the
else?
last summer chum.
Anything else?
Yeah, can't think of it.
All right,
Madam Chair, move we adjourn.
all right, we're adjourned.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Happy
Happy Independence Day.